This alveopyrus is now at a measurable activation level.
Yes, it appears that way. Can you tell me more about its function?
Scanning.
Ever wanted to step in Rover Curiosity's robotic feet and explore Mars? Well, Waking Mars takes that principle, and with the power of imagination, TM, it takes us much further into the mysteries that the fourth planet from the Sun might withhold. Waking Mars was originally a generally well-received iOS game developed by Tiger Style, and recently made its appearance on PC. Sadly, in my experience, most iOS games don't at all hold up to the adventurous platform we call the PC. The question here, of course, is, does Waking Mars belong to the 2D adventure games of our PC, or is it more of a wannabe, undeserving of our PC grace?
Thank you. I am very abilities for human dialogue.
Waking Mars puts you into the shoes of Liang, a member of a small research team tasked with following certain clues and mysteries they found in 2097 on Mars. Starting off with excitement and anxious to see what the depths of Mars behold, the initial goal is quite simple: find a lost reconnaissance robot dubbed Octo. Soon, however, you'll notice more odd life forms that seem to have strange connections with one another. This curious ecosystem makes for an interesting aspect, and is something that, if you're even a little into biology or science, will keep you curious throughout the game. All of this is guided through by, of course, the main character Liang, who seems a capable and somewhat stern protagonist, but also his colleague, Amani, who shows quite a bit more emotion, and together with the artificial intelligence Art, guides you through your adventure. Both Liang and Amani are alright. They don't honestly come over that intense or interesting in any particular way. You don't find out all that much about their history, and there isn't really any character build-up. They are just fine. Not very memorable, and not bad either. Art is certainly more interesting and makes for a bit of a goofy and lovable AI companion. Although, I must note, who decided the robot, of all people, should have the awesome honor of naming everything again?
We will call them Hydronmaxis.
But the overall appeal and atmosphere of Waking Mars is not due to the characters. All of this is set in quite an appealing art style. It is, of course, predominantly red, as you would expect from, well, Mars, if anything, but they do a good job of incorporating different shades and colors, making it feel believable, yet lively and vibrant. The one issue I had with the art style is that, on some occasions, it didn't distinguish well enough between fore and background. But the mostly relaxing atmosphere of Waking Mars comes from the interesting premise of discovering more about the alien organisms you run into and work with. Yes, work with. But how you do that isn't maybe quite what you'd expect. Waking Mars is a platformer, sure, but doesn't rely on this aspect a whole lot. You come equipped with a jetpack from the very start, and use this to traverse the vast caverns of Mars with little difficulty or reliance on actually platforming. Mouse and keyboard work well, and although the movement feels quite floaty, this does work well with the fact that, well, you're using a darn jetpack. That being said, the movement animations and animations in general are definitely lacking in places. However, the main aspect of Waking Mars is the puzzle-esque way in which you must cultivate and not kill or at all fight the curious Martian organisms. As you progress your way through the tunnel network, you'll run into more and more of these creatures and plant-like beings, and you must find a way to maintain a good ecosystem and create the game's primary resource, biomass. Almost every zone you enter will be locked on a number of ends by so-called cerebrains, an organism that seems to do little beyond serving as a wall. Once you've created enough biomass, these open and retract into the wall, granting you passage and allowing you to go into a number of different routes. It is certainly not a highly linear experience and sits in between freedom and a solid path. Biomass is created by, firstly, gathering the seeds of various organisms that all serve a different purpose. You can then plant the seeds on 2 types of soil and watch your little garden grow and hopefully sustain itself in such a way that biomass rapidly builds up. As I said, all of these organisms serve a different purpose, and this is for you to find out by throwing different seeds in their direction, testing their defensive capabilities, and otherwise just doing what is most fun about research, messing around. It is quite a lot of fun to do and provides a different and, again, quite relaxing experience. As you puzzle your way to find out the perfect lifeform combinations to advance further and further, they do become a tad more complex, but it is certainly not a very difficult game. That is, unless you want to get the quote-unquote perfect ending. Again, the organisms are quite varied, and if you like the initial concept of this, you won't quickly get bored. But if you are aching for a bit more action, beyond seeing certain organisms eat each other, that is, you won't find it here. It does this little curious mechanic well, but it doesn't do much beyond this. In addition, Waking Mars is not a very short nor very long game. It took me roughly 7 hours to explore at my own behest and complete it. It does offer a few different endings, but it doesn't offer a whole lot in the sense of replay value. Curious is the word I would use to describe Waking Mars. It's a relaxing little experience with fine voice acting, solid characters and a fun gameplay mechanic to get you through it. The movement is capable, although the game suffers from some poor animation quality, and it works on your sense of researching these biological creatures. If such a relatively unique experience is what you're looking for, then I can heartily recommend Waking Mars.